You may have your seats. Asanteni sana, and a proper good morning again, and welcome to today's Kenya Pipeline Company initial public offering opening day, an announcement that I know many of you have been keen on in the lead up to, and we will have the opportunity for the questions and responses from our key speakers. And I'd like to acknowledge key among them our chief guest, National Treasury CS Honorable FCPA John Mbadi. A happy new year to you, sir. It is still safe to say that until Valentine's, which I can't tell you. So acha niseme to happy new year. I'd also like to appreciate State Department for Petroleum PS, Bwana Mohammed Liban, also joined by his counterpart in the State Department for Public Investments and Assets Management, Bwana Cyril Wagunda. Asante sana kwa kuja. And I'd like to appreciate, because we have many stakeholders who are integral to this journey, and for this to be a success, and those who are representative of the NSE, our host, the chairperson, as well as the CEO, and as well as the National Treasury representatives led by our CS, the Privatization Authority, that is the effective convener of today's meeting, that is the chair and the CEO and MD represented, Asanteni sana, and the EXCO team that is also represented here. I'd also like to appreciate the reason we are here, and that is the Kenya Pipeline Company, and we are led by our chairperson. She's here as well as our MD, Bwana Joe Sang. Asante sana kwa kuja, and they will all be giving us remarks. And in a good tradition, as our host, I'd like to first call on our CEO for the NSE, Bwana Frank Mwiti, to just call this to order and say karibuni nyote, and the breakfast that he promises, 3-course, nonetheless, will be coming right after. So he's going to make it short. Karibu. Let's give him a hand.
Honorable John Mbadi, the CEO, the Company Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Andrew Kiptor, the PS, National Treasury and Economic Planning, Lawrence Kibet, the Director General for Public Investment and Portfolio Management, Mr. Faisal Absa, the Chairman of the Privatization Commission, Ms. Faith Bett Boynet, the Chairperson of the Kenya Pipeline Company, Joe Sang, the MD for Kenya Pipeline, Ugas Mohammed, the Chairman of the Capital Markets Authority, together with Wycliffe Shamia, the CEO of the CMA, a lot of the distinguished representatives of the government agencies present here today, as well as, of course, my chairman, Kiprodo Kitonyi, the chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and other capital market stakeholders, members of the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I was hoping to have a very short speech, but my chairman has encouraged me to talk a bit more about what's happening today. So I will just try and take as short a time as possible to share our remarks from an NSE perspective. It's my pleasure first to welcome you to the Nairobi Securities Exchange on this very, very historic occasion, the opening of the Kenya Pipeline Company initial public offering. Today marks the return of initial public offerings to our market after more than a decade. It is an important milestone in the renewal of Kenya's primary exchange, and a strong signal of renewed confidence in the role of capital markets in financing our nation's economic transformation. The Kenya Pipeline IPO is a defining development for the exchange, for investors and for the broader economy. It demonstrates that our market is once again ready to support large, high-quality listings and to mobilize long-term capital for strategically important enterprises. Indeed, this milestone comes at a time when Kenya's capital markets are showing renewed strength. The NSE, in particular, is now operating at historic levels. Last year in November, we surpassed the 3 trillion shilling milestone in equity market capitalization, our highest in the entire 70-year history of the NSE. And as we speak, we are now above that. Alongside this, our bond market stands at over 2.7 trillion shillings. Liquidity and daily volumes are at historical highs, which is all a reflection of a market that is active, it's investable, and it's trusted. We are also seeing a healthy balance between retail investors and institutional investors, as well as between domestic investors and foreign investors, reinforcing the depth, resilience, and stability of our market ecosystem. The decision to bring Kenya Pipeline Company to the market reflects a deliberate strategy to broaden ownership, to strengthen governance, and to unlock value from nationally significant assets through a transparent, rules-based marketplace. It reinforces the NSE's role as a platform through which both public and private issuers can access capital and engage a diverse investor base. This achievement is the result of close collaboration among government institutions, which I'm sure CS will speak to, regulators, market operators, and the corporate sector. It reflects careful planning, strong oversight, and a shared belief in the power of capital markets to support sustainable economic growth. I would also like to warmly thank all the advisors who have worked tirelessly, actually until this morning, to deliver this historic transaction. Their dedication, professionalism, and quiet excellence behind the scenes have been central to bringing this offer to life. This achievement reflects not only technical skill, but also shared commitment, collaboration, and belief in what Kenya's capital markets can achieve when we work together with purpose. For investors, this offer presents a compelling opportunity. Institutional investors gain access to strategically important and operationally resilient company. Retail investors across the country are offered a rare chance to directly participate in a major national enterprise and share in its long-term value. Ultimately, today is about more than opening of one offer. It is a statement of confidence in Kenya's future and in the power, as I said, of our capital markets to translate national ambition into shared opportunity. It signals readiness for future privatizations, for additional IPOs, and broader participation by investors across the country and beyond. Most importantly, it opens the door for everyday Kenyans, including first-time investors, to own a stake in the nation's growth and to participate directly in building the economy we all believe in. Thank you for being part of this historic moment, and welcome to a new chapter for Kenya's capital markets. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to invite the chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, to deliver his keynote address. Asanteni sana.
Our chief guest today, the CS National Treasury. Allow me to stand on the already established protocols by mentioning all the dignitaries here and representatives of our capital markets. Good morning. For 17 years, the capital markets have asked for an initial public offering. 17 years. And as a good Christian, the Bible says, "Seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you." So it's been a long time coming, and I'm so privileged and proud to stand here today on this historic occasion as we ring the bell for the Kenya Pipeline offering. This is a defining moment in our economy, and it carries profound significance, not only because of the strategic importance of the company, but also being the first IPO in over 10 years. I kind of pity my predecessors because 2 of them never had a chance to witness an IPO. So I stand here to enjoy the moment, not just on my behalf, but on their behalf too. So this event represents a long-term aspiration that we have had, that re-energizes the market, speaks to the confidence that we have, and it is anchored on the conviction of the NSE and the government that a well-structured, timely, and sequenced privatization program can fundamentally transform the depth and appeal of our capital markets. By bringing this high-quality strategic asset to the market at this time, and there couldn't be a better time, this program enhances investor confidence, broadens market participation, and strengthens liquidity while offering issuers a credible and transparent platform to raise long-term funds. Buona CS, we have been on roadshows, and everywhere we go, we are told, fine, you guys are doing a good job, but where are the products? Where are the investable assets? And for once, we will be able to go back and say that the journey to deepen and broaden our market has begun. And as the chairman of the NSE, this moment is personally very significant and one that holds a deep meaning to me and to my colleagues. The Kenya Pipeline Company is one of the most strategic and important state corporations. It sits at the very core of Kenya's energy security, regional trade, and industrialization agenda. The company is the backbone of Kenya's petroleum supply chain. It ensures reliable fuel transportation across the nation and positions Kenya as a strategic energy hub in this region. And I laud the leadership of Kenya Pipeline for the commendable work that they have done in ensuring that their profitability and their balance sheet is one that makes this event so significant. The stability of our economy, the competitiveness of our industries, and the daily lives of millions of Kenyans are linked to the efficiency of the Kenya Pipeline Corporation. So, Buona CS, please convey our gratitude to the President and to the entire government for bringing this asset to market. And we would like to make our message very loud and clear that the market has been asking for the privatization program to move forward. And nothing could signify the government's collaboration than bringing this most strategic of assets. This is therefore a rare and historic day for all of us. It is not just merely a financial transaction. It is an invitation to citizens to participate in the stewardship of a strategic national institution that underpins the country's economic future. And by broadening ownership, we also are democratizing wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to the timing. My CEO talked about the performance of our markets, and there could never be a better time. The bull run that began 2 years ago, we are charging on in the new year, and investor confidence is at its highest level that we have seen. And this offering is not in isolation. It is being introduced at a time when the market has regained momentum, depth, and investor confidence. And Buona CS, we have a few private IPOs coming to market in the course of this year, so we shall be inviting you several times to come and see and witness the expansion of our markets. This is also anchored on the strong macroeconomic fundamentals that we are seeing, thanks to your leadership and stewardship of the national economy, which includes declining interest rates, more stable currency environment, improving GDP growth, enhanced fiscal and monetary coordination. The market has benefited from conditions that encourage long-term investment. These gains did not occur by chance. They are the direct result of deliberate policy choices, strengthened regulation, and sustained commitment to market integrity. And we are also at the beginning of our new strategic planning cycle, and we have a bold vision to have over 50 IPOs and 9 million active retail subscribers. Later this month, we have an event that will be speaking to that agenda, and we are sure we are going to bring many Kenyans to the market as a way to invest their assets and not just focus on land. And I think you will agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that the graveyard of corporate Kenya includes many companies like Nakumatt, Trust Bank, and many that I will not mention here today, that would have been with us today had they been listed and had good governance infrastructure. Therefore, it is against this background of strong liquidity, rising valuations, and broad-based investor participation that Kenya Pipeline comes to market. Beginning this year, with such a landmark IPO builds directly on the gains of 2025 and sends a clear signal that Kenya capital markets are back, they are performing, and they are ready to support large strategic offerings. I conclude by asking all of you to invest and to say that we are confident as NSC that we will not just be second, but we will rise to the very top of the capital markets industry across the continent of Africa and become the most globally competitive frontier capital market. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I look forward to signing my own check to buy shares in Kenya Pipeline. Thank you, and God bless.
Asante sana to the NSC chair, Bwana Kiprono Kitonyi, who did say and put the disclaimer out there, he's a Christian. So with the promise that he's given about the region and the dominance, we'll hold you to your word and look forward to that particular growth. I'm sure everyone in this room is going to be applauding to that. So from one chair to another, and integral in this journey to see that it starts off right and it's actually above board, I'd like to call on the CMA chair, Ugas Mohammed, to also give us some quick remarks. Let's give our appreciation to him as he comes to stage. Karibu.
Treasury CS, Honorable John Mbadi. I also stand on all established protocols, as has been mentioned. Good morning. Thank you very much. Indeed, it's a pleasure for me to join you today to mark the opening of this IPO for the Kenya Pipeline Company Limited. This is a significant achievement in the Kenyan capital market sector and a clear demonstration of the government's support to deepening the capital markets. The Capital Market Authority is implementing various policy and legislative initiatives to support issuers in the market. Such initiatives include the review of the capital markets regulations to attract listings and deepen the capital markets, while at the same time protecting investors. The listing of the Kenya Pipeline at the NSC is a testament to the Kenyan capital markets that we can play a critical role in mobilizing savings and investments as envisioned in the Vision 2030 blueprint. The listing demonstrates that Kenya capital markets has a capacity to support large and strategically important issuers. Ladies and gentlemen, last year the capital market sector supported both EABL and Safaricom to raise funds through the issuance of corporate bonds. Safaricom issued the corporate green bond worth 15 billion to fund projects aimed at enhancing operational efficiency, expanding renewable energy initiatives, and enhancing sustainability across the company's network. This first tranche received an oversubscription of 175%. This oversubscription is important to the market because it sends a signal and is an indication that there's high demand for sustainable investment instruments in the country. Similarly, we had the case of EABL as well, with a tranche of 11 billion, which registered also 154% oversubscription. And the same, both bonds, the market has responded with confidence, and that is what we're looking for. The capital market sector has provided the government with an avenue to finance key infrastructure projects. In 2024, the government raised the 44 billion for the world-class Talanta Stadium. This marks a significant milestone as is the first asset-backed security issuance since the introduction of the regulatory framework for asset-backed securities in the country. Recently, the proposed divestiture in Safaricom, it will be expected to generate substantial resources for government to support the development of critical infrastructure projects. The projected proceeds of approximately 244 billion will provide much needed financing without increasing public debt levels or imposing additional tax burdens on citizens. In 2024, the capital market sector supported development of an affordable housing through the issuance of the first Sukuk, which is the Lindsay Sukuk. The proceeds of Sukuk were channeled towards contribution of affordable housing in line with the affordable housing policy of government. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of performance, I think it's been mentioned. I think the CEO and the chairman of the NSC have pointed to how much the market cap has grown at the NSC. And definitely this is as a result of both policy and legislative as well as macroeconomic factors that the government at various levels have put together, including what we are doing at the CMA. To position Kenya as a capital markets hub, the Capital Market Authority is at the initial stages of formulating the second 10-year capital markets master plan, and the authority shall be working with key capital market stakeholders, including government agencies and private sector players and market intermediaries, to be able to walk together this journey. The Capital Markets Authority remains supportive to government of Kenya in privatizing the remaining government agencies where it has government ownership through the issuance of IPOs or shares at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, we fully support the government divestiture policy that aims at supporting the broadening of the fiscal strategy of government and advancing capital markets development objectives and aligning with the national reform agenda for state-owned enterprises. And as I conclude, on behalf of the Capital Markets Authority and that of the stakeholders associated, I wish to appreciate the government efforts and His Excellency the President for keeping his commitment to privatize Kenya Pipeline. And we look forward to the other ones. Let me just say in final words, I had a conversation with the chairman of the NSC 2 years ago. I think it was 2.5 years ago or something. And I just want to say that, he said, look, will this be our legacy? And things were falling apart at the time. I remember him saying, should I just resign at this point? Or should I continue holding this portfolio now knowing where things are and what is happening? And there were a lot of exits and the dollar was not, the rates were not working well and all that. And the macroeconomics had some challenges. Today, I'm happy to report it's a different face. And today he is happy, and I'm happy that he is happy too. And we're all happy for you, and we're happy for the Kenyan economy and for all of us that we are going to create liquidity in the market and create investable grade instruments. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Shukran sana to our CMA chair. You just have given our journalist a day 2 story right there about the inner workings of what your counterpart within NSC was considering when there was some choppy waters. So don't be surprised when you see it in the headlines. But someone who's also going to be part of the story, as my colleagues within the Fourth Estate tell this particular story, is understanding the team that has been working behind the scenes. And that is the lead transaction advisors. Very, very, very key to this process. So let me call on Dr. Belgrade Kene, who is the CMA lead transaction advisor, to help us. And I think he's a bit surprised about that title that I hope it's a promotion and it's not less, but he's also going to call on the rest of the team that he's been working with in the lead up to this. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Mark. I would like to take this opportunity to invite our chairman, that is Bob Karina, and Rena Hicks. Please come on stage. Bob, I think I'll start with you. If you may just, introduce us with a few words.
Our chief guest, Honorable C.S. John Mbadi, I'll also stand within the established protocols. And good morning, everyone. Yes, we have come with a team that has been leading the transaction advisory group from FIDA Investment Bank, but I would also want to request that we have the FIDA team stand up so that you can see we have a force behind us. People from FIDA, they're all here. That is Lucas, our MD, Dennis, our executive director. Behind there, we have the team from the Oak Special Fund, led by Ian, Janet, Mitch, Patrick, and the rest of the team. So very much, thank you very much. So for me, before I give it back to Ken, is just to say that we are very proud, and this is a very great opportunity for us to have seen this transaction come this far. And as you've heard, this transaction is supposed to take a whole month from today, 19th of January to 19th of February. Most of the previous IPOs have actually been taking 10 days. But the government felt, and the Privatization Authority, that we should give Kenyans more time so that they can make a point of getting something from at least achieved from the pipeline company. So this will go on from today, and anybody who comes even on the very last day will get an opportunity to invest in the pipeline. So I'll call upon Ken to proceed.
Thank you, Bob. Our chief guest, Honorable Mbadi, I would like to take this opportunity to mention that indeed the Privatization Authority did assemble a dream team to make this possible, and it's really my privilege to acknowledge that this was not, a lone trip. We were surrounded by equally able advisors, and I would just mention their name, and kindly when you're mentioned, please stand and perhaps just wave. So starting with the lead transaction advisors, that is FIDA Investment Bank, and then we had the lead sponsoring stockbroker, that is Diane Blair. I don't know if there's a representative. We had a co-sponsoring, that is Francis Drummond. I think we can see the CEO present with us. We had the reporting accountant, that is PwC, Michael. I did see you around. The partner is here. Thank you very much, Michael. We had our joint legal advisor, that is OK Advocate and GNA Advocate. Thank you, Gennaro SC and Eric Asanteni Sana. We have our receiving banks. We're talking about Cooperative Bank. Anyone from Cooperative Bank? Thank you very much. KCB Bank. Thank you. Stanbic Bank. Our advertising advisors, Belva Digital, are you in the room? Thank you. APN for PR, are you in? Our registrar, Image, where are you? Thank you very much, Abdul. Anyone we're missing, Rina? Very well. So thank you very much, team, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And Waziri, I want to tell you something. This transaction is unique for many reasons. We're talking about the largest ever in the region. We're talking about an e-IPO, but we're also talking about this transaction completing in record time. And that record time wouldn't have been possible if this team was not really burning the midnight oil. Now, back to the transaction itself. We're happy to land on the floor of the Securities Exchange, a company that is mature. We are talking about 52 years old of resilience, impacting our lives in many ways. And then again, for investors, we've looked at the track record of this company, paying dividend, and of course, going forward, it is my privilege to say that traditionally the company was at a 30% dividend policy. We've since raised that to 50%. So that dividend track that has been witnessed in the past is likely to continue. And again, talking about the 100+ billion that is being raised, we've looked at it from an allocation perspective, asking ourselves what would be fair, and thanking the Privatization Authority for the method that was used, that is the initial public offer. That puts an end to the drought that we've witnessed for the past 18 years, but more importantly, it is transparent, it is fair, it is inclusive, and that is really what we're about. So as you open the IM, just to go through, you realize that we're talking about allocating substantive amount to our retailers, that is 20%, and then we're talking about our local institutional investors being allocated a similar 20%, and then the KPC employees have been given a priority pool, that is 5%. Our oil marketers, really the core driving KPC, have been allocated 15%, and then we have a pool for our foreign investors that is again at 20%. So when you look at that allocation, it's fairly balanced. That is 20 for the internal stakeholders. We're looking at 5 KPC employees, 5 for the OMCs, and after that everything is pretty much 20. That is 20 local retail, 20 local institutional, 20 again for our regional, because as you know, KPC is a regional business where transit markets, form about 52% of their business, with Uganda being about 65% of that. So we have a pool for the region that is 20%, and then the international pool at 20%. Having said that, we've thought about quite a few things that perhaps looking back would say we are opening this transaction to go into a road shows. Of course, we'll be communicating more, but then it's also my privilege, Rina, to call you on stage to take us through what that process looks like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I must, first of all, say thank you to the KPC team, led by Mr. Joe Sang. There's no way we would have been able to be here without the cooperation of yourself and the rest of the team, working in fact, early in the morning for quite a while now. So thank you so much. So really, one of the things we are really excited about for this IPO is the fact that it is the first electronic IPO, fully electronic IPO, which means that for those who want to apply for the shares, you will have to go on to the eIPO platform, that has been put together by image registrars, and you'll be able to apply for your shares. The key thing to note, however, is that we all need to make sure that we have CDS accounts. Those who want to apply, you have to have CDS accounts before you go into the process of applying for the shares, because it's a fully electronic process. Fortunately, the process of opening CDS accounts is now fairly easy. Brokers now have online platforms where you can go and put in your KYC and open your account within, really within a day, and you can begin to trade. And so the IPO really opens today. Let's not wait to the last minute and try and get as many people coming in as early as possible so that we don't have any issues coming to the end of the IPO, which will be on the 19th of February. I don't know whether we're announcing the price yet. So the price of the shares is 9 shillings per share. And the minimum investment amount of shares is 100 shares. We've made it open and available for everybody. That means if you have 900 shillings, you can apply for the KPC shares through this IPO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rina. So 9 shilling it is. We talk about broad-based. We want broad-based ownership of this company. We believe it's fairly priced. We believe it's affordable. And we're excited to actually onboard investors as we go along. So on that note, I would like to thank you and pass over Mark. Mark, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, let's keep appreciating the team that's been working behind the scenes to bring us to that figure that many of you have been waiting on to hear. And to the man given the credit by Rina earlier in terms of the corporation to make this all possible, I'd like, ladies and gentlemen, that we put together a strong applause for Bwana Joe Sang, the managing director of the Kenya Pipeline Company.
Our CS, National Treasury, Honorable John Mbadi. Allow me again to write with all the protocols that have already been established. And I would like to say good morning, everybody. Good morning once more. It's indeed a big day for us. It's a turning point in our company's history. And it gives me a deep sense of pride to be here today. And before I go on, allow me to introduce a special team who've been helping me run this company. And this is the team of Kenya Pipeline ESCO team. I'll just ask them to stand and wave. The company is as strong as the people behind it. Also allow me to really acknowledge also the reason why we exist as Kenya Pipeline. And this is the team of the oil marketing companies. These are the OMCs, and I've seen a number of CEOs in the room. We have the FIVO CEO there, Peter Muringi. We have the chief executive and founder of Starbucks, they are number 2 in Uganda, Jack Chebet. We have Rubis, my friend John, Rubis Energy. We have Solomon from House Petroleum, and all the other CEOs who are here. This is the team we work very, very closely with. Probably you can stand and wave to the crowd. James and the team from PIA, Wanjiku. Let's appreciate that team. I would like just to share with you the history of our company. Kenya Pipeline was established on the 15th of September 1973. And I can see in the room before many of us were born. And it started with its operations in January of 1978 with 2 employees. And today, we have over 1,400 employees across our installations. We run 1,342 kilometers of pipeline from Mombasa through Nairobi all the way to Eldoret and Kisumu, with over 4 pumping stations and depots in Nairobi, Nakuru, Eldoret and Kisumu, and we have storage capacity of close to 1.1 billion liters, and the bulk of which is sitting at the point of entry, which is Mombasa, and the CEO of KPRL also is here, Bonandoti. KPRL now is the new acquisition of Kenya Pipeline Company, which is 100% owned by Kenya Pipeline, sitting on 377 acres of land facing the sea in Mombasa. So the potential in this company over the years, we started as a national operator of pipelines, and today we are a regional company. What we transport using the pipeline, we have close to about 140 oil marketers today who use the pipeline system. 52% of those products that we handle is for the region. So we serve the countries of Uganda. Today, close to about 99% of Uganda products go through Kenya. We work with our sister company there called UNOC. We serve the country of South Sudan, close to about 70% of that market. We serve the eastern part of DRC, the Koma region, close to about 70%. We also serve Rwanda, Burundi, and a small part of North Tanzania as well as Somalia. So we are truly a regional company. And our mission is simple, is to be the transportation of choice, the Africa's energy partner, with our objectives being safe, efficient, and a cost-effective ways of transporting petroleum products from Mombasa to the hinterland. And therefore, this opportunity has come at the right time. And I must thank the National Treasury for opening this opportunity to Kenyans to be able to own a stake in their company. And more so, for the employees of Kenya Pipeline, who are the great resource to own a stake in their own company. Shortly, we'll be establishing what we call the ESOP, which is the Employee Share Ownership Plan, that will be governed by a trust deed. And as the lead tier said, again, we've been allocated 5% on a priority basis. And therefore, this is truly transformational to give them a chance to own the company. And therefore, for the potential investors and investors who are coming in out of this IPO process, I'd just like to share the key fundamentals of Kenya Pipeline. This company, in 2025, won the most coveted Company of the Year award. it has a rich history of paying dividends. When I look at the last 4 years, we've actually paid over 20 billion shillings to our shareholder, which is the National Treasury. And therefore, you're investing in a company that's already paying dividends. The barriers to entry in this market are very steep. The cost of constructing a pipeline and the storage tanks are huge. And therefore, you're investing in a company whose fundamentals are very solid. When we look at the future of Kenya Pipeline, forecasted in the next 5 to 10 years, today, principally we are a pipeline company. We are looking to diversify this company in terms of getting into fiber optic. We've been running a fiber along our pipeline, the 1,342 kilometers, but it's a dark fiber. And therefore, shortly, we want to light it to enable the telcos to take it to the last mile. And therefore, that's a huge opportunity. We're also looking to expand even to new territories with Kenya Petroleum Refineries. We are looking to set up the bunkering, or what we call the trading hub, and to be able to backload. Today, we are dealing with about 6 countries in the larger, 6 to 7 countries in the larger East Africa. But in the next 5 years, this company will be dealing with not less than 10 countries, all the way down south. And therefore, this is an opportunity too big to miss. You are putting money where the currency is guaranteed. The leadership is steady. And once you invest in this company, I can assure you, as potential investors, you'll just go home and sleep and allow the management to do what they do best, which is to maintain the position of being the leader of choice and the company of choice for the years to come. And as we come into the market, somebody was saying earlier on that Kenya Pipeline will immediately go into the top 10. I want to correct that. That Kenya Pipeline will go into the top 5. Because as an expert running the company, I can assure you, the future is a jewel we're just digging. This is a coal mine. My son this morning, when I mentioned to him that we'll be going to Nairobi Stock Exchange, he asked me, so what does it mean for me? I said, Tyler, now you get a chance, it's 18 years, to buy a stake in this company. And he went further and said, so what does that mean? I said, now, you'll be my boss. And therefore, Kenyans out there, we are ready to serve you. We are ready to execute at pace. And I know CS, it's very, very strategic. The opportunity is timely. Because again, we'll be moving away from the speed of government. I'm very sure in terms of budget approvals, it will be done at the board level, and therefore we'll be creating a more agile company that is ready to respond quickly and be able to meet the requirements and maximize on the shareholder value, which is the ultimate price of a private sector company. With those few remarks, on this note, I'd like to invite the chair of the board of Kenya Pipeline to come and give her remarks. Mrs. Faith Boynet, as you appreciate me, as you look for money to invest in the company that's underpinning or supporting Kenya each and every single day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joe Sang. Our chief guest, the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable John Mbadi. I would also want to stand on the established protocols to say good morning. And before I'm told in moments like this, because I'm a lawyer, it is good to get excited but to stick to the script. I'll stick to the script, but as I do so, I'd like to recognize the chairman of KPRL, Madam Lilian Mahiri, who is my senior in the profession. The board of directors of KPRL, in the room, please just stand and wave. I would also want to recognize the board of Kenya Pipeline. I can see them seated there. We've done a lot of work, to say the least. Tafadhali simameni muonekane. Thank you very much. Waziri, I was a member of the Privatization Commission when we got the nod from Cabinet to privatize KPC in 2009. I am glad that I stand here as the chair of Kenya Pipeline as this privatization is happening. So it has happened in my lifetime, and I'm glad, albeit the fact that it took unnecessarily too long. But maybe it needed someone like you with your bravery to come and do this. It is a moment of great pleasure and immense pride for us as Kenya Pipeline to witness this historic occasion. The launch of the initial public offer marks a defining milestone for the company, is a continuation of a long and illustrious journey of growth, transformation, and service to the nation and the region. For over 5 decades now, Kenya Pipeline has played a vital role in safeguarding Kenya's and region's energy security. KPC has been the unseen hand and ensures refined oil products and recently data is delivered safely and efficiently from the Indian Ocean's eastern seaboard to other parts of the country and the region, fostering development and growth. As the custodian of critical transformation infrastructure, KPC underpins industrial productivity, regional trade, and the smooth functioning of the economy. The KPC IPO is not merely an offer to buy shares in the company, as it has been stated by Joe Sang, but it is an invitation to the Kenyans and other investors to participate in the long-term stewardship of an institution that is critical to the national and regional development. The IPO is significant because it reflects the confidence of the Kenya's business fundamentals in its growth prospects and its capacity to deliver long-term returns while serving the public interest. It also signals confidence in the Kenya's capital markets as a platform for mobilizing capital, both domestic and international. By opening KPC to public ownership, we are strengthening market discipline and reinforcing our commitment to transparency, performance, and productivity. Importantly, this offering is aligned with national development priorities. It supports the government's agenda to open investment opportunities and mobilize capital for infrastructure development. So as it has been stated earlier on by the CS, this money or the proceeds from this IPO will not just go to the budget for recurrent expenditure, but it will actually go into the seed capital to ensure that the infrastructure that the country looks upon or the country is expectant on will actually be delivered. As Kenya pursues its long-term economic transformation, KPC is focused on remaining financially resilient, operationally efficient, and well-positioned to support regional energy trade. Our responsibility as a board is to safeguard shareholder interest, uphold ethical leadership, and provide strategic oversight that balances commercial performance with national interest. We are fully conscious that the listing will bring heightened scrutiny, and rightfully so. We welcome this scrutiny because it reinforces accountability and drives excellence. As the board and management, we believe that strong governance is the bedrock upon which sustainable value is created. We have aligned our practices with the highest standards expected of a public listed company, recognizing that investor confidence is earned through consistent adherence of good corporate governance and integrity. Sustainability remains at the core of our operations. Through the KPC Foundation, we have invested in corporate social investment initiatives that positively impact communities across the nation. Our focus on education, healthcare, and empowerment of special groups, that is women, youth, and persons living with disabilities. And this aligns with the National Development Agenda Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs, and Vision 2030. These efforts reflect our commitment not only growing our business, but also contributing to the broader societal good. Our commitment to environmental, social, and governance principles is stronger than ever, and look forward to making a stronger impact as we prepare to transform into a listed public company. In closing, on behalf of the board and management, I wish to thank the National Treasury, the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the Privatization Authority, the Capital Markets Authority, the transaction advisors, and all stakeholders, and of particular mention is the employees of Kenya Pipeline for being committed to this process. If they weren't, we won't be here. Who have worked tirelessly to culminate this moment. Together, we look forward to writing the next chapter of Kenya Pipeline's journey as we focus on realizing KPC's strategic vision and delivering value to our shareholders and stakeholders. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much to our chair and for your leadership, and also that historical perspective that this journey didn't just start the other day. It started way back 2009, and I'd say full circle for you, now sitting at the board as a chair of the board of the Kenya Pipeline Company. It is quite something, and something to write for your books and your resume and what have you, as a big culmination of a lot of effort that has been going on behind the scenes. And as I call on your counterpart from the Privatization Authority, Faisal Abbas, the chair of the Privatization Authority, I'd like to also, he's seated next to the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Investment Promotion, Bwana Abubakar Hassan Abubakar. Tunaomba tu pia tumshukuru kwa kuja. Unaweza simama pia, wacha nikuulize usimame tafadhali. We'd like to appreciate him. At least 3 PSs present today. Asante sana. Bwana Faisal.
Good morning, our chief guest, CS John Mbadi. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Before I make my remarks, let me introduce the members of the Privatization Authority, Waziri, if you don't mind. We have seated here, if you can all stand up. I have Dr. Edward Kabuthi, the gentleman here, Madam Irene Wanyuike, Sylvia Kanyi, Madam Celine Orata, former PS Ambassador Godo, Bwana Kennedy Wandieki from the National Treasury. Thank you very much. Today we open the subscription period for the Kenya Pipeline Company. This is a significant moment for Kenya and the deliberate step in strengthening how we govern, grow, and safeguard our strategic national assets. At its core, this IPO is about strengthening performance and accountability in the Kenya Pipeline Company. A well-structured offer raises the bar through clear rules, stronger disclosure, public reporting, and independent scrutiny, so reliability and efficiency are not promises, but measured outcome year after year. What this means for Kenyans is practical. Fewer disruptions, lower costs, stronger oversight. When reliability improves, we see fewer supply interruptions and a steadier flow of fuel across the country. When efficiency rises, logistic costs come down, and this is felt where it matters most, in the transport fares, in food prices, and in the cost of running a business. With access to capital, KPC can invest in expansion, strengthen safety, and modernize systems without placing additional pressure on the taxpayer. And with this stronger governance, we reduce discretion, power, improve transparency, tighten oversight, and build greater public trust in how this strategic asset is managed. Most importantly, this is an invitation to Kenyans to share in the value of a national asset. Kenya has seen the benefit of market discipline before through listings such as Safaricom and Kengen. KPC now comes to the market from a position of strength, ready to build its next chapter under higher standards of performance and transparency. The Privatization Authority has worked with its partners to ensure a transparent, rule-based, and inclusive process aligned with Kenya Vision 2030 and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, including the use of fully electronic IPO platform. In closing remarks, Waziri, I want to thank the people from the National Treasury for their continued support and assisting us to ensure that we realize this vision. Thank you very much. In this time, I would like to welcome the PS for Petroleum, Mr. Mohammed Liban.
Honorable Mbadi, Honorable Mbadi, CS Treasury, esteemed PSS who are my colleagues, all chairs present, all CEOs present, all directors present, all invited guests, MC Masai and the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen. Before I make my short remarks and call upon the CS, may I recognize my colleagues PSS. Please stand up. The three of you accompany us. We have PS Treasury, Kipto, wave to the team. Your colleagues, April, Economic Planning, Abu Investment. Thank you. First of all, may I take this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum under the leadership of CS Opio is not with us today, is on official duty. The State Department for Petroleum, KPC Fraternity, Ministry of Treasury and Economic Planning, and the entire team. NSC, CMA, Privatization Authority, oil marketers who are here, the Transition Committee and advisors, and everybody who has actually supported this process, and you make us proud as we stand here today. Clap for yourself, please. Having said this, when we started this process initially, and as a ministry, we appeared before the Committee of Parliament to support this process. And after that, one of the stakeholders was saying, PS, KPC is doing very well financially. I said yes. KPC has got a very good infrastructure. I said yes. KPC has a very good qualified, staff. Yes. Then why do you sell them? I told him that we are not selling them, and I gave just one example. I told him that we ukiwa mfugaji, mimi pia ni mfugaji, kambia ukiwa na mbuzi ama ng'ombe ama gamia, ukipeleka kwa market, ni gani utapeleka? Ni ile ambayo imenona, ambayo inakupatia pesa, ama ni ile ambayo imekonda? Akasema ni ile ambayo imenona. So I've answered you. KBC doing everything, so we wanted to make it better and better and to add value to the economy of this country. And he said, you have said it all. And they said, go and spread, the gospel so that the people can understand. So having said this, Kenya Pipeline is one of my sagas in the State Department. And it manages, the pipeline all the way from Mombasa to Kisumu. And their key mandate is to make sure that security of supply of refined petroleum products is maintained as much as we have in these transactions. As you know, that we do import petroleum products, the white products, every month. 60% we consume it domestically. 40% is actually for the transit. So this transaction, the first thing we actually supported is that it is not going to disrupt the security of supply for Kenya and also for the region. So if that is so, then why can't we privatize so that make more money to make it better and better? So I stand here to assure you that the security supply for Kenya and the neighboring countries are maintained, and we are making it better and better. So why do we have, what do you mean, by IPO? IPO, all of you will know, but as it is defined, is when a private company sells its shares to the public for the first time to raise equity capital. This process turns a private company into a public one. So this transaction benefits both the company and also the investors. So it is the best practice that is being emulated worldwide. And if we look at the history of IPO, the first IPO in the world was the Dutch East India Company that holds the distinction of being the first company to offer equity shares of its business to the public, effectively conducting the world's first IPO. So we are still in the vision of the global market. And if you look at the largest IPO in the world, I just highlight 2 or 3. One is Saudi Aramco, and it has USD 25.6 billion. And Saudi Aramco is one of the companies that supplies us, with fuel to run this country. The Visa of USA is 17.86 billion. The Facebook we are using stands at 16.45 billion. I'm just giving that history, whether we are actually within the global aspect or just we are doing our own things. Elon Musk, net big IPO, the SpaceX, expected to go public, launch giant IPO in this year 2026. The money will help Elon Musk get people to Mars and build database in the space. Thinking about, the Mars, doing IPO for that, while we are still on this earth to do, the same thing. So after years of resisting the idea, Elon is expected to take SpaceX public in 2026. Why am I saying this? For this country, anything we wanted, to do, there is a lot of resistance. So for us to be here today, it wasn't an easy thing. It was a big handle. But these are the challenges, and these challenges we have to bear together to make this country to move forward. The story of Elon Musk and ourselves. So having said this, I know the CS will expand more on this. The cabinet approved 2 funds, the National Infrastructure Fund and also Sovereign Wealth Fund. So these funds, if we get money from Privatization Fund, we get money from minerals and also from the fuel. Those funds will actually develop our infrastructure in terms of roads, in terms of transport, in terms of energy, in terms of industries, manufacturing, seaports, airports, and etc. So, for State Department, the fuel development plan is already before Parliament for ratification. That targets Block T6 and T7 in South Lokchar in Turkana. Once approved, then we'll be able to have fast oil by the end of this year. And whatever we get from there, it will be able to boost these funds to make it, a fund that will be able to use to develop our infrastructure. So in this case, while I'm just ending, my remarks is that this dream, CS, of National Infrastructure Fund, Sovereign Wealth Fund, Infrastructure Development, it actually supports the vision of His Excellency the President of moving this country from third world to first world. I think this is a process that we need, to move. And I'm happy today, in conclusion, that where we are today is actually very, very promising and also successful. Finally, the most valuable companies in Nairobi Stock Exchange, those are the companies with above 100 billion. Safaricom is there, Equity Group is there, KCB, East African Breweries, NCBA, APSA, Cooperative Bank, Standard Charters. Now we have KCB, which has got over 100 billion to be now in the same league with this one. Congratulations, KPC. Congratulations, Treasury. Let's make this country better and move forward to make it economically viable. With those few remarks, it is now my honor to call CS Mbadi to address, the congregation. Karibu Daktari.
Thank you very much, PS. Let me begin first by asking those of us from the National Treasury to be upstanding so that I can introduce you. From National Treasury, I'm here with my two principal secretaries, Chris Kipto, who is in charge of the National Treasury. Then we have Cyril Wagunda, who is in charge of public investment and asset management. We have Director General Lawrence Kibet, who has actually been burning midnight oil on this matter. He's the one in charge of public investment and portfolio management. And then we have Kefa Seda there. Thank you very much. I also have some speech here. Read. I don't know whether this is the right position for it. Masai, I think I feel it better. Yeah, I think iko juu sana. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a delight to launch this monumental Kenya Pipeline Company Limited initial public offer, thereby paving way to its eventual listing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This comes 17 years after the Safaricom IPO done in 2008, which was the last listing by the government of Kenya. So it has taken 17 years for us to have another IPO being launched. And ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that there is an intrinsic link between economic development and capital markets development. Capital markets are strategic tools that support economic growth through the provision of capital, thereby encouraging investments and improving market systems. From a capital markets development perspective, capital markets provide institutional investors, both local and foreign, such as mutual funds, pension funds, and insurance companies, with instruments to diversify their assets geographically thus increasing the potential for significant inflows of portfolio investment. The eventual listing of KPC at the Nairobi Securities Exchange shall increase institutional investors' desired stock of assets in the exchange, and this will end up with an increase in the flow of foreign capital. Additionally, privatization through listings in the open capital markets is one of the key financial reforms we are deploying in the development and deepening of our capital markets as a necessary ingredient for enhancing economic efficiency, thereby promoting our course towards transition to a market economy. Our choice of divesting by the government of Kenya from KPC through an initial public offer is a clear reflection of the growing strength and maturity of our economy, and this IPO is well positioned to support not just the financing of our 2025-2026 budget, but will also usher in KPC into a new paradigm of heightened corporate governance and transparency. And I think one of us mentioned that. I think it was Joe who mentioned that. I think you're being careful by we're not saying too much bureaucracy in government. But it is true that now Kibet will not be frustrating your budget. Governments, by their very nature, are bureaucratic. Whether you go to which economy, they are all bureaucratic. And if you want faster decision-making, efficiency, then you need to bring in private sector into play to be able to leverage on the efficiency of the private sector. And that cannot be overemphasized. And I agree with you absolutely. I've also witnessed the kind of delay in making decisions in government. Sometimes I ask myself whether there is a general rule in government that processes can never be fast-tracked. In public finance terms, this IPO is about asset optimization. It asks whether public capital locked in mature enterprises is being deployed in the most productive way or not. Holding equity preserves ownership, yes, but it may not deliver the highest social return when the economy urgently requires infrastructure investment like today in this country. The transaction is therefore aimed at converting part of a concentrated equity position into diversified national capital that can support growth across multiple sectors. It is a decision about capital efficiency, not asset disposal as some people are trying to make it appear. We all know that our economy is at a critical turning point, and to sustain the economic achievements realized thus far, both at the macro and fiscal level, that is reduced inflation or low inflation as we see today, the interest rates which have started showing clear signs of coming down, currency stabilization that has been of benefit to us and especially exporters of goods and services, GDP growth that has been above average in the region and even globally. We must turn to innovative financing mechanisms to fund our infrastructure and public service projects, because Kenyans have spoken and they have said that the traditional methods of financing our budget, taxation and debt, there is no longer any space allowed by the people of Kenya. You cannot continue increasing tax rates for Kenyans. They have said no, and they said it loudly in 2024, and we must listen. And therefore we must turn to other innovative mechanisms to fund our infrastructure, because we must. Our infrastructure must continue to be funded, and other public services. And therefore, there is need for taking such initiatives as we are taking today. So as the financing or financial needs of government continue to outpace available public resources, private sector participation has become a critical tool in addressing infrastructure gaps, enhancing service delivery, and also promoting sustainable development. You will concur with me that this proposal aligns well with the sentiments that were received from Kenyans during the public participation process of the just concluded or the ongoing financial year 2025-26 and the finance bill that accompanied it. You will recall that the last finance bill, I decided to directly engage with the people of Kenya, even in some areas that were never thought about before. I actually talked to the ordinary Kenyans at Jivanji Garden I went to Mombasa and engaged the ordinary Kenyans, and I even met with Kenyans in Kibra at night. And the language was the same. They are saying that they cannot continue to give us more taxes or increasing the tax rate. They are saying they don't want us to borrow more. They are telling us to be more creative and innovative. And so this is just a response and a reaction to the people of Kenya. Least to say that the issue of privatization was actually taken to the people of Kenya during the last general election. Because if you look at the two manifestos, or the manifestos of the two leading political competitors or competition, that is the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. Both of them are very robust in terms of how we need to support or finance our infrastructure. Both of them are talking about privatizing mature assets of the government to raise seed capital to start infrastructure funds. And that is very clear. Go and read Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. It is in black and white. And Kenyans voted for it. Over 50%, or if you are in the other side where I was, where we believe they didn't get the 50%, they were close there. But even in the Azimio, where I actually participated in coming or putting together the manifesto, we also had recommended that we privatize some of these mature assets to raise funds. And again, Azimio received either over 50% or close to 50%. Therefore, almost 100% of Kenyans actually voted for privatization. So we are just, again, engaging them further, but this is a message that came and has always come from the people of Kenya. You will remember or recall that in 2009, the Cabinet of the Republic of Kenya passed a resolution and approved a cabinet memorandum to privatize KPC. So this is not something we are starting today. It's only that this administration is bold enough to now actualize it. And I join the team which is bold in making this decision. This is a decision that we must make, and I committed myself that under my watch as the cabinet secretary, this will not continue to be a say. It must now, we must walk the talk. We have traditionally financed our budget using debt and taxation instruments, and it is now time to leverage on other instruments to align with both economic progression and public sentiments. Ladies and gentlemen, the proceeds from the offer shall form the requisite seed capital to the National Infrastructure Fund, which shall be directed into critical infrastructure investment priorities, specifically energy, roads, water, airports, etc. Let me pause a bit and explain this. That our economy is growing at about 5%. Let me tell you, if you look at the population growth of this country and the number of the young people we are producing to the job market every year, an economy growing at 5% cannot sustain the momentum of creating jobs for our people. We need an economic growth of not less than 7 to 7.5% to be able to keep pace with the job demands from our population. That cannot be realized if we continue with our infrastructure development at the level at which it is today. Look at our airport. You will be ashamed if you are traveling that an economy as big as Kenya, which is the biggest in the East and Central African region, which is the 6th largest economy in Africa, only after South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Morocco, and Algeria. One of which is in the south, another one is in the west, and 3 are in the north. Kenya is the biggest economy after those economies. And yet, we have an airport that we can never even talk about when people are talking about airports. Look at what Ethiopia is doing in the neighborhood. Look at what even a small and tiny economy like Rwanda is doing. We are going to lose our advantage in terms of logistics. Kenya has been the logistic hub, identified even by the UN. But we cannot continue retaining that privileged position if we don't take action on our airport. And that airport must be done. And it requires funding, over 200 billion Kenya shillings. Why we want to create this fund, National Infrastructure Fund, is because we want to raise money to put into this fund This fund will be used to leverage. This fund will be used to de-risk investment in this major public finance infrastructure project. We all know, because most of us here, if not all, are business people, and we understand what risk means. We all know that public infrastructure projects are risky by nature, and therefore, to crowd in private sector, which are usually risk averse. The private sector funds usually, you know how they behave with risk. You have to really demonstrate very high returns if you have to get private sector to invest in risk investment. That is why we want to make some resources available to de-risk this investment. For example, if we have to do the airport, assuming it is costing 200 billion shillings, 40% of that should be equity capital, at least. That would give you about 50 billion. Now, or 40%, I mean 25%, sorry. A quarter of that amount should be equity capital. That should give you about 50 billion. The government of Kenya, through this National Infrastructure Fund, can choose to finance up to 60% of that. If we finance 60%, that will be 30 billion from this fund. And then now we crowd in the private sector and bring in both equity and debts to that project and develop the airport, which then would support, pay back the investment that has been put in it. That is the best and proactive way of financing that airport. We tried PPP and it didn't work. But on this one, because one of the concerns of the people of Kenya, you know, Kenyan public is very interesting, and I love them for that. They said we are going to sell the airport. Now, if government of Kenya, out of equity, will finance 60%, we will tell them we are still retaining the bigger chunk of the shareholding in whatever, if you want to call it like a company. We are still going to finance 60%. So we are not selling anything. We are inviting other private sector players to come in. As I conclude my example in that space, you cannot develop a country if you have unreliable and expensive energy. The cost of power is expensive and unreliable. As a country, we can only generate about 3,000 megawatts. We need to generate at least 10,000 megawatts. And by the way, energy can pay for itself. So through this fund, we are going to be able to generate and transmit power in this country. That is the route to go. Even if you make noise when there is blackout, one day should go. Atatoa pesa wapi ya kugenerate power. He will come to me. I have no space. I have no fiscal space. Do I generate more power, or I pay lecturers who are in the street, or pay capitation to schools? I will move towards paying capitation and leave energy, and the economy will stagnate. That is not the direction we want to take. We must create this national infrastructure fund to be able to avail enough resources to do these public infrastructure projects. And this is money that we are not going to spend in normal, ordinary budgetary support. This money is not available for salaries. It is not available for recurrent expenditure. It is not available for supporting budget the traditional way. It will only support budget by taking out of our budget those commercially viable infrastructure projects to be funded through this fund, so that we reduce pressure on our budget and we make resources available for other service delivery. So that is the only way through which it will support the budget. Investment in priority national infrastructure is aimed at ensuring that it becomes a powerful tool to fuel our economy, accomplish strategic goals, and scale public investment by bridging institutional capital with public projects. At the National Treasury, we are making a steady progress in effecting an economy-wide and state corporation sector-specific reforms and corporation-specific restructurings, not just as an end in itself, but also in response to policy and business dynamics. The dynamics include the following. One, the coming of age of the private sector that can deliver commercial activities more efficiently, hence part of the need for privatization of government-owned enterprises. What am I saying there? I am saying the government must reduce our presence or active participation in commercial activities, in doing business. The government is not in the business of doing business. Some people are saying, why are we selling a jewel? We are not, these companies, these assets are not supposed to be kept like souvenirs. You know, I tell people, and by the way, I say it plainly, that government doesn't have to get dividends. We don't need dividends. We should allow private players to come into this space. Every business in this country, whether it is a kiosk, we own more than 30% already as a government. And you pay us first before you pay your shareholders. That is a must. You must pay tax before you pay the dividend to shareholders. So we don't need to again go for that, to come for that dividend. What we need is to create an environment that will support business. We want private people to play a hand, to play a role, to have a hand in doing business, make big checks, huge profits, and give us fat checks in terms of taxes. That is what we need. We want tax from you, not dividends. Number two is the need to elevate the role of government, one of policy and regulation, to support commercial activities of the private sector and to avoid conflict at the commercial operations level. We cannot be creating policy and creating regulations and at the same time competing with you. We will be disadvantaging you. It is even immoral. It's not right if we are the ones creating policies and then we come to be in business with you. Like, for example, today, the government owns KPC, and you also want to transport petroleum products from the coast, and you are competing with us in business and you want to defeat us. We will make sure we find a way of interfering with your business so that our business remains profitable. That is what competition is all about. You cannot give one competitor an advantage. So government should get out of business. And that is what we are trying to do, getting out of business and allowing the private sector to do business. I must also say at this level that our timing is also very good and strategic. From a timing perspective, we are coming to the market at a time when we are experiencing significant momentum at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The NSE has experienced a significant rally over the last 1 year, anchored by a rising market capitalization, which crossed 3 trillion in November 2025, a record in history. The rally peaked to the all-time high performance level recorded in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, alongside double-digit growth across all key benchmark indices for the 6 months ending June 30th, 2025. This demonstrates the robustness of our capital markets to absorb a large transaction like this one. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me then at this juncture to finalize by performing what I consider as my statutory duty to specifically address the investing public in regard to the IPO that we are launching today. Now I am talking to investors, you and I, and of course, Kitoni, I'm also going to try my luck. Immediately I will also try my luck to be a shareholder now direct. I am present in the shareholder. Single. It has been very cold. I want partners. I want people to keep me company from today. But let me now address you as an investor. It is with great pleasure that I present to you this information memorandum for the offer for sale of 11,812,644,350 ordinary shares of Kenya Pipeline Company. The government of Kenya, acting through me, the Cabinet Secretary, to the National Treasury, is giving all Kenyans and the investing community at large the opportunity to be co-owners in Kenya Pipeline Company. And I will read to you how the shareholding of this company will look like after this. Key among the government's privatization objectives is the need to broaden the shareholding of state-owned corporations among Kenyans, as well as to deepen the capital market and raise resources for infrastructure development. So we are broadening the base, as one of us said. And actually, this is what we call democratizing wealth. And we are democratizing ownership of KPC. It is going to be owned by Kenyans. The Nairobi Securities Exchange has undoubtedly been a major catalyst to the growth of our country. It is for this reason that the government seeks to encourage every Kenyan to participate in the benefits of investing through the stock market. KPC is a leading oil and gas company in Kenya and has grown significantly in the recent years. As a result, KPC is one of the most profitable companies that is wholly owned by GOK. And in this way, has contributed significantly to the country's budget. Now listen to this. KPC recorded revenues of Kenya shillings 38.59 billion and after-tax profits of Kenya shillings 7.49 billion for the year ended 30th June 2025, which was about 20% of the revenue in terms of profit after tax. The company is financially sound and supported by a strong, resilient balance sheet. This offer is of great significance not only to the capital markets, but to Kenya as a whole. The IPO is the largest ever in East Africa. I'm told Safaricom was just 50 billion in term when we issued the IPO. So this one is over 100 billion. It's the largest ever in East Africa. And in keeping with the promise of His Excellency the President, which he made to Kenyans, we are proud to present this offer and encourage every Kenyan to take part in this proud success story. This information memorandum sets out the details of the offer and the listing of the ordinary shares of KPC on the main investment market segment of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I encourage all investors to read the full information memorandum carefully to gain a clear understanding of the potential rewards and risks relating to investing in KPC. Under the Central Depository System, shareholders are required to open an account with the Central Depository and Settlement Corporation Limited prior to buying, selling, or acquiring additional shares at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Thereafter, shareholders must deposit their shares with the CDSC, upon which the Central Depository and Settlement Corporation Limited company will issue a share statement evidencing the securities held on their behalf. All applicants are urged to open their CDS accounts without delay by contacting stockbrokers or investment bank branches listed in this information memorandum. This will be the first e-IPO, and that has also been said, meaning all applications will be submitted electronically. Participation is therefore limited to investors who hold CDS accounts, and I encourage everyone or anyone without a CDS account to open one immediately through a CDS agent of their choice. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you as a co-shareholder of Kenya Pipeline Company. And as I mentioned, that baridi imekuwa nyingi sana. Munisaidie sasa, we become more shareholders. Let me just mention something that I think the transaction advisor mentioned. Just in the spirit of transparency, a lot of stories have been said about this transaction. And in the spirit of transparency, the government of Kenya is still going to continue to hold 35%. So we are offering 65%. And out of that 65%, as a percentage of it, the staff of the company will have 5% of the ownership offered to them. The oil marketing companies, 15%. The local retail investors, 20%. The local institutional investors, like pension funds and others, insurance companies, are offered 20%. The local retail investors is you and I, the individual people. East African investors, because we are in a region, we must think and remember our neighbors, 20%. And finally, foreign investors will have 20%. Now, if you look at these percentages, foreign investors, 20% of 65%, that is just 13%. So away from the region, because even East African region is like local. Away from the region, only 13% will go to foreign investors. But if you add foreign investors to East African investors, then the maximum is 26%. Meaning, the local ownership of this company is still going to retain 74%. So those who are saying that we are giving a strategic, and you know they use big words, just to scare you, that probably we are making a wrong decision. Strategic, security, important, or significant, whichever language, depending on where you went to school. How can we trust foreigners with it? I am telling you, there are no foreigners here. 74% will either be owned by the government of Kenya, the staff of KPC, who are actually Kenyans, largely, the oil marketing companies, most of which are local owned, local retained investors who are purely Kenyans, and local institutional investors, Kenyans, will own 74%. And then our brothers from the East African region will own 13%. That is a total of 87%. And only 13% will be to other foreign investors. I don't know whether that is still a wrong decision. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to end there and thank everyone, but more particularly the Capital Markets Authority. I want those who are working with Capital Markets Authority to rise up. I want to recognize them. This, I can thank God I've seen a lady. These ladies and gentlemen actually worked over the weekend and even up to this morning to make sure that we meet and beat the deadline. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. The Privatization Authority have played a significant role. If you look at the Privatization Act, which was passed late last year, gives this institution a lot of powers, but which also comes with the responsibility when it comes to privatization or initial public offers. At least for divestiture, the power is a bit muted. More powers comes to the Treasury, the CS and the Cabinet and Parliament. But on this one, you have a lot of powers and you have discharged your responsibility effectively and efficiently up to this stage. I also want you to rise up so that we can give you a hearty clap. Thank you very much, Asanteni sana, Madam CEO and the Chairman. I will not forget also the Kenya Pipeline Company. A lot of initiatives like this get frustrated internally. We did not see any sabotage internally. And I want you to rise up also, those who are working with KPC, from the board to management, so that we could also give them a round of applause. Thank you very much again, ladies and gentlemen, for the good work that you have done. And I am sure there will be very little or limited business disruption. I don't know who is remaining. Maybe just Treasury. Treasury, I will not ask you to rise. We will not clap for you. You just did your job. Including myself. But let us also clap for Treasury. We have been coordinating all these initiatives. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me your ears. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki. And I think we are proceeding now to the official launch. Thank you.
That's right. Asante sana to Honorable Mbadi for that and for appreciating, actually going ahead and giving a formal vote of thanks for those who've been instrumental to lead us to this particular point. So, Bwana CS, I'll ask that once you hand over the speech, you come over and join us at this particular setup right here on the right of the stage. And because of the space, you'll just stand here, sir. Because of the space that we have here, we will do it all together. We will have a video that will show some of the information that has been shared today. And being the share price as well. And we'll do a countdown together. Once you see the 5, we do it together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which will then guide our CS in cutting the ribbon. And then he's also going to be joined by some of those mentioned as he was giving his appreciation. So we'll have limited numbers here, but I will definitely have to call on the PS, State Department for Petroleum, PS Mohamed Liban, and PS Dr. Kipto. Tafadhali muungane nasi hapa. And we will also have integral in this, our chair from the KPC and our MD to join us here as well, and the Privatization Authority to also be on this side. Now, I will also work with my brothers and sisters from the media in terms of being able to appreciate. So some of you will stand on this side of the table, just here, but we will try and accommodate people here, yes. So to try to have them line up here so that as you take that picture, it captures everything. And Bwana CS, kutakuwa na moto kidogo upande huu, usistuke. Yes, it is not flammable, lakini you'll just step aside kidogo, and a bit of a pop and flare to celebrate this moment, but it is safe. Yes, and I'll also call on CMA representation. We have the CEO and the chair, if you join us here, and the Privatization Authority had also called on us. However, I believe that those behind the camera would like to capture it from this angle, right? So if I will have Bwana CS, because you are the least number here and you're flanked by a PS on this side, and then hao wengine watasimama wakielekea upande huu, itawasaidia wale ambao wako nyuma ya kamera. The others are more from this other side, so we'd need to accommodate them here, right? And I believe I've called on everyone. We have CMA representation, the Nairobi Securities Exchange chair, tafadhali join us. And then we will also have, yes, KPC is well represented, the National Treasury. So if you just, because this has to be shared with the public who's going to be the boss of this process, the co-shareholders, as well as Bwana CS, who says he's going to try his hand. In fact, Chair Kiprona Kiton can stand behind Nabado Atonekana. He's tall in stature. I'll just ask that, however, just be on standby, because right behind you, sir, there will be a bit of yes, fireworks. Yeah, not fireworks really, but just the pyros and the pop from the confetti. So for the ladies and gentlemen behind the camera, are we okay with this angle? Are you okay? For most of them there? They are, the majority are. Some, okay. If I may have Bwana Faisal and Dr. Jane Rose to stand next to MD right there. Okay. Are you okay with that? All right, just have to at least optically have a representation of all the integral players, and many are still seated here, but you'll appreciate, just because of the setup, that we would want to have a good representation, but understand that it won't be everyone. And so are we okay with this? Because we'll do a countdown together. This video that's about to start playing is 25 seconds long, but you will see the countdown from 5 to 1. Once it gets to 1, Bwana CS will cut the ribbon. It will make sure that this opens, the curtain opens, and we will see what is behind here, and then we'll all clap together. But remember, let's count down together. So we can start with, are we okay first of all with the angling? We'll be able to capture a good image of that. We can start with the video just to see what is here. Just some information of what is going to be a historic IPO within the region, not just in the country. And it's going to also get us to a countdown here. We've heard the share price, and yes, we have it. Let's go together. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bwana CS, I believe you have the instruments of power. You can cut it. And now, just watch out for the flames behind you. We have it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Kenya Pipeline Company IPO has officially been open, and this, what is behind the curtains, is just a prospectus with some of the other information that you will be consuming as we continue. Bwana CS, usiogope, it's not flammable, it is all right. I hope we're getting a good, let's please all join with an applause at this moment and this milestone. That is the KPC IPO that is going to be historic not only in Kenya, but as well in the region. And yes, once you're good with that photo, ladies and gentlemen behind the camera, you can allow us to have them settle down so we can have a vote of thanks. Let's give them an applause as they settle back to their chairs. Asante sana, Bwana CS. Yes. All right, a bit of choreography here from my senior behind the camera, and I'll allow it because it's not every day that you have them all here at pointing at the prospectus that we have here. Oh, you have to wait for it to turn until we see the cover of the prospectus. And we can point it now that we have the frontal perspective of what we are launching today. Let's give another round of applause. Let's not tire, please. We have a month for this process, so we really do need to get the momentum going and keep it going as we continue. And as they settle, I'd like to now call on the Privatization Authority Managing Director, Dr. Jane Rose Omondi, for a vote of thanks and an appreciation for those who have been part of this journey. Again, I'll ask us to appreciate her with a round of applause. It's been many sleepless nights. As you probably were enjoying the Christmas holiday, her and the team that have been mentioned here have been working. So we appreciate you. Dr. Jane Rose, over to you.
Thank you. Our chief guest, the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, Honorable FCPA John Mbadi. PS, the National Treasury, Dr. Chris Kipto. PS, Public Investments and Portfolio Management, Mr. Cyril Wagunda Odede. PS, State Department for Petroleum, Mr. Mohamed Liban. PS, State Department for Investment Promotion, Mr. Bakar Hassan. The chairpersons and boards of the Capital Markets Authority, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the Kenya Pipeline Company, and the Privatization Authority, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Privatization Authority, it is my great pleasure and honor and privilege to offer this vote of thanks following the successful launch of the initial public offering of the Kenya Pipeline Company. First and foremost, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, Honorable FCPA John Mbadi, for the exemplary leadership, strategic direction, and unwavering commitment demonstrated in steering this landmark transaction. Your leadership reaffirms the government's resolve to deepen Kenya's capital markets, enhance transparency, and unlock value in state-owned enterprises for the benefit of all Kenyans. I also wish to commend the Capital Markets Authority for its regulatory oversight and the Nairobi Securities Exchange for providing a credible and efficient platform for this strategic IPO. As you've been told, the CMA was working the whole weekend and very early this morning. Your professionalism, the CMA and the NSC, and close collaboration have been central to ensuring the integrity of the process and helping us build investor confidence. Our appreciation further extends to the board and management of the Kenya Pipeline Company. The staff of Kenya Pipeline did not have a Christmas break. They didn't also break for the new year because we had to meet these timelines. Led by the chairperson, Mrs. Beth Boynet, for their dedication and cooperation throughout this journey. The successful launch of this IPO reflects the strong governance framework and operational readiness of KPC. We are equally grateful to the team of the transaction advisors, led by the lead transaction advisor, Faida Investment Bank, the lead sponsoring broker, Diane Blair, and all technical partners whose expertise and tireless efforts have transformed policy intent into reality. Importantly, I wish to acknowledge all individuals and institutions who may not have been mentioned by name, but who contributed in one way or another to the success of this process. Your support, commitment, and behind-the-scene efforts have been invaluable, and this achievement belongs to all of you. Finally, I commend the team at the Privatization Authority and other partner government agencies for their professionalism and collaborative spirit, which exemplify the power of the whole of government approach. This IPO is more than a financial milestone. It marks a significant step towards inclusive economic growth, broader public participation in national assets, and a stronger capital market for our country. Thank you all for your partnership, trust, and dedication. And just to close it off, may I, Bwana CS, invite Board Member, Privatization Authority, Dr. Edward Ikombuthi, to close for us with a word of prayer. Thank you.
Asante sana to Dr. Jane Rose, the Privatization Authority Managing Director. And yes, in good fashion, we'll have the word of prayer. And just to close it as we've begun, we'll have the national anthem, one stanza after this prayer. So, karibu.
Shall we bow our heads in prayer? Let me write on the protocols already observed. Heavenly Father, I come before you as one raised in Anglican and our faithful Pentecostal with CITAM. And I recognize that we are gathered here from different faith persuasions, united in gratitude for your guidance and presence today. We thank you for the successful opening of the Kenya Pipeline IPO, not just a financial transaction, but a defining moment for our country. We are grateful for the CS Energy and Petroleum on the Mbadi, represented by the PS Mohammed. We're also very grateful for the CS Treasury on the Mbadi for formally presenting the memorandum of the IPO, reminding us that this is about capital efficiency, not capital disposal. His emphasis that government ownership should not be a souvenir, but focus on business, that KPC IPO democratize wealth, and that to remain the regional hub, Kenya must improve the infrastructure, including the airports, while funding development creativity and reducing reliance on tax and borrowing. We thank the chairman, my own chairman, Faizo Abbas, for highlighting the value of independent reporting performance measurements, rising efficiencies, reduced costs, and agile investment, and even for guiding us so well in the last several months of this preparation. We also thank our CEO, Dr. Jane Rose, for coordinating this very complex process. God, thank you for giving us her the energy, for quiet charm, diligence, and grace. We bless KPC leadership, Ms. Faith Beth Boynette, and the stewardship of Joe for leading the process so well. We also want to thank the others who are involved in this, Imageries Trust, all those that are working in the background, NSC, CMA, for their fair allocation, regional participation, and accessibility at 9 shillings. May it strengthen capital markets, support regional integration, democratize wealth, and deliver lasting benefit for the benefit of people of Kenya. We commit this transaction, the leadership, the teams, and our nation into your able hands, Heavenly Father. We want to thank you that the leadership will move forward in putting in place all the instruments to ensure that there's fair distribution of these shares, Lord. Bless all those who are able to come this morning, even those who have supported us behind the scenes and even in their offices. We want to pray this, trusting and believing. And all men and women say, Amen. Amen.
Amen. Asante, and that also counts as prayer to cover what we're getting into, and that is networking and breakfast. But for the next moment, because I believe our CS might be leaving immediately, I'll ask us as we stand up for the national anthem in closing. This continues in terms of the networking. There's a display here, and of course, breakfast that has been ready for you since 10 o'clock, and you are invited for that. But once we're done with the national anthem, I'll ask us to allow that the CS and with the PS and other dignitaries here exit first. And I know the Fourth Estate members would like to probably do 1 or 2 interviews with some of the representatives here. That, I have been told, is going to happen at the NSE holding room, and you'll be directed for that. But let us all now rise for the national anthem, and after that we have our seats and allow Bwana CS to exit. Asante.
O God of all creation, blessed is our foundation. Just as the ocean of defender, may we pray in unity, peace and liberty, plenty be found within our borders. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Asante. We may have our seats, but allow Bwana CS and his team to exit, and we appreciate him. We could also just appreciate him with an applause here, but he said him and his team don't need an applause, they're just doing their job. But tunawashukuru pia for gracing this particular occasion. A successful opening of the Kenya Pipeline IPO offer, and yes, for the next month, it is going to continue, something that I'm sure you'll be keen on in terms of the response to this. Breakfast will be served. There's 2 serving points outside this dome. There's a tent over there, and right outside this dome to the left, there's a tent here where the breakfast is ready for you to serve and have your fill and enjoy it as we continue with the networking, and then we are free to leave at our pleasure. The members of the press and the journalists who are keen on the interviews with some of the players here, including the MD and others from KPC, the Privatization Authority, I'm sure you'd want to have 1 or 2 interviews. You please stand by for that at the NSE holding room, which you'll be directed to for that, so that you don't have a lot of interruption of people crossing trying to get breakfast. So as soon as Bwana CS will be out of the dome and on his way, we can all, please, no particular order, head on to the serving points. But however, for the front tables, you can access the serving points through this side of the stage. So karibuni kwa wale wako karibu na the front stage, you can serve from this serving point here. So karibuni to breakfast. Even those who are on this particular table, you can have breakfast on this end served and on that particular end. So karibuni nyote to breakfast and have a good productive day, and of course ordered steps as we actualize this IPO. Asanteni sana. My name is Mark Masai. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.